So, first off, I know what you're probably thinking, but I'm not wearing the same shirt I was yesterday. So, this Bono's hockey. If you know anything about me, I fucking love hockey. Been a Caps fan since I was like 9. And, Mr. Bo is the mascot of Natty Bo, which used to be a Baltimore brand beer before they moved to fucking Milwaukee. And if you look on the back, it says Bovechkin with number 8 because puns. Okay, so now that we've got that over with, I'm going to jump back into my Google Drive. I don't know how many of you saw this the other day. Pretty much only Zay answered, but they inspired me to mix it up. Ugh, excuse me, gas. Let me see if I can see if that bulletin still exists. How do I do this? For context, I've got wicked acid reflux. Now, where do I keep putting my goddamn phone? Yes, it was. Decoding my next YouTube video right now. Five days ago. Quick poll. Alright, so 5 days ago I posted a bulletin called A Quick Poll for my creative writing reading today. Excuse me, gotta go off screen. Anybody hate it when they've got that frog in the throat feeling? Because that's what I'm feeling right now. So, option A was to read the prelude from my latest side project called Slayer the Resurrection Return from Oblivion. Option B was to read the entire episode 1 of the original Slayer story called The Cold Invasion and its cringe-inducing entirety. Option C was to read the prologue in Chapter 1 from Slayer's Infernal Wanderings. Fucking chips and dip, man. Before I launch it on Wattpad or something else entirely. There was a 30-minute window for an answer. There was no answer. So I've done A and B. So now let's do option C. If I can find it. And if you want me to read the entire thing, I probably will not because I want to be able to post it on Wattpad. So here we go with Slayer's Infernal Wanderings. First off, what did I say? Yeah, the prologue in chapter 1. The prologue. From the conclusion of Mass for the Damned, the original episode 20 and series finale of OG Slayers. Meanwhile, oh, by the way, before I dive into this, it's going to introduce a bunch of characters that you probably didn't hear me talk about in Cold Invasion or Resurrection. So anyways, time for Mass for the Damned. Meanwhile, the rest of the Slayers were having a bad time. They were all fighting hordes of zombies, but most were alone or with another Slayer. Locke fought back to back with Damien, stemming the tide of undead. Brandon battled alone, and Cassandra and Matthew struggled together. Brandon could see Jake fighting Soul Killer alone, and saw that he wasn't faring any better. Jake had Soul Killer in a headlock when Soul Killer broke free. He began to beat Jake down to the ground, and when Jake was finally down, Soul Killer began kicking him on the ground. Locke yelled in pain. Bella, stop it! She's still scratching the fucking furniture. Locke yelled in pain, and a horde of undead swamped onto him and Damien. Damien was pulled beneath the swarm, and Bran could hear his yells until they were no more. Bran screamed in anguish at the death of his friend. He fought on with a frenzy unknown. Locke, meanwhile, battled free of the clutches of his enemies, but he was tiring and badly wounded. Suddenly, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Though the Slayers fought on, there was no noise, no clash of steel against flesh, no howls of the wounded. In slow motion, Bran whirled to check on his comrades. As he came around, he saw Cass fall with a scream. He bellowed and tried to get to her, but a tide of zombies converged on him. No! He tried to yell, but no sound escaped his lips. He swung his sword in a circle of death. He hacked away the nearest undead, which gave him time to pull something small from his jacket pocket. A small explosive device glinted in the light. Flipping the timer to 1 minute, Bran raised it over his head. He used his pistol to fend off the oncoming zombies. A strange prayer broke the silence of the battlefield. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Bran continued to fend off the tide of undead, even as more and more continued to press in on him. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Bran heard his comrades begin to fall. He gritted his teeth and tried to block out the sounds of battle. Thankfully, the device's countdown timer read 30 seconds. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. He heard Carlos. Matthew. Carlos was the actual name of the dude. He heard Matthew go down with one last yell. Thou dost prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. The clock read 10 seconds. Jake and Locke both fell before their attackers. 5 seconds. Surely goodness and health will follow me for the rest of my days. Bran closed his eyes. A certain peace fell over him. 3, 2. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. 1. Amen. Chapter 1. Revival. Through a maelstrom of blurred images, garbled screams of pain and roars of rage, the Slayers all awoke as though from a centuries-long slumber. They found themselves facing each other, and then blinded by a blazing silver light as a massive winged figure materialized in front of them. Tyresis? Each voice rang out in unison. Yes, my friends, was the booming reply. Brandon rose from golden bindings and looked around, seeing each of his friends looking fully alive. Aren't we supposed to be dead? he said disbelievingly. Yes, but there remains one task left for you before you will be allowed the final rest of death. But we don't want to be dead. This is beyond even the angels. We possessed this power at one time, but since the invasion by the fallen angel, most of our most powerful magic has been lost. Tircis answered. You will be returned to Earth shortly for this last task. You mean we're going home? Jake questioned, looking at the Archangel. In a way, since the malevolent energy emanating from the Hellmouth is disrupting direct transport there. You will be sent down to Helton instead, the sister city of Oakhaven, where its residual energies are not as strong. But be warned, we have learned of the existence of a stronger breed of vampire lurking there. Oh no, that's fucking awful. Oh, by the way, I'm recording my newest YouTube video right now. Do you want me to send it your way when I'm done? Question mark. Bruh, roasted tomato soup. I'm not going live, but I don't cut my videos at all. I just post them as is, and they're quite popular, so yeah, I'm more popular on Space Hay than I've ever been in real life. But we're not going back empty-handed, are we? Of course not. To this end, I have managed to retrieve Trick's lost spirit. What about Dante? I will explain later, said the Archangel, glancing around at them. The full text of this grew to 72 pages once I did the double spacing. It was like 33, 34, but it's actually pretty goddamn epic. I will explain later, said the Archangel, glancing around at them. Bran, Jake, Locke, Cass, Matt, and Damien, the last 6 Slayers, were freed from holding and led into an armory. There, they were greeted by a familiar face. I believe that for this, you will need more support. Tircis said, with the hint of an enigmatic smile. I last edited this 8 days ago, so making changes as we go. Trick tipped his cap, which was flipped upside down at them as he finished shining a burnished silver shield. Sup, yo, little wanksters? The weaponsmith greeted them, his old habit of speaking street still intact. Man, Trick, we haven't seen you in forever, Bran said, slapping hands with him. A side door opened, and 3 white-robed figures entered the room. Catherine? Shanna? Alexa? Oh, this is going to trigger the hell out of my Alexa. Of the 3, Alexa looked particularly luminous. She moved towards them and gleefully hugged her older brother as well as the others. Okay, just so the thing stops responding, I'm gonna call her Alexis. Alexa, stop! She moved towards them and gleefully hugged her older brother as well as the others. Catherine made for Brandon and Cass, while Shanna hung back. A distinctly awkward glance passed between her and Cass. Sing. Now, said the Archangel, I believe you will need weapons. Wait, Catherine said confusedly. Shouldn't Alan, Edgar, and Paul be here? Yes, I did that on purpose. And just who is Alexis? Well, Alan's soul was destroyed when frost venom took hold of his mortal coil. Edgar's soul was banished into eternal oblivion after his defeat. And as for your friend Paul, we could not locate his soul, answered the Archangel. And, Jake chimed in, Alexis is my little sister. I guess you never met her, Kat. I guess not, Kat said, giving Alexis an unpleasant look. Forgot to change her name from Audrey. Hold up now, we don't need no beat between y'alls, Trick said, stepping between the girls and blinking. Yo, Master T, who I be giving this here crossbow to? Good question, Trick, and don't call me Master T. Don't call me Master T again. Alright, chill, Master T. Take it easy, yo. First, give the others their new weapons. It seems we shall have to decide who will receive the crossbow. Sarah trailed off, looking between Alexis and Catherine. Trick shrugged and took a high-tech looking compound bow off the wall and handed it to Shanna, along with a quiver of silver-tipped arrows. This ain't like your last bow, girl. Got a range of up to 500 yards. Hell, a lot stronger, too. These here arrows take care of those skinnies easy. To Brandon, Trick handed a pair of Sig Sauer P220s. Maybe it was 229s? Whatever. Hey, man. Remember those old pistols you had before? Yeah, and? Well, these gets more accurate and more powerful. I didn't think you had ones like these before. Sweet. Thanks, Trick. The others received their new weapons in short order without much more chatter. There's enough energy to reincarnate you all. However, you will be extremely disoriented upon arrival. Whatever abilities you may have once had may no longer be present, or more dormant ones may have awakened. Another fact about Helton we have managed to uncover: the breeds of vampire there will be unlike any you have faced before. You have grown accustomed to simply eliminating fledglings, those with the merest traces of vampirism, as they were affected by the dark energies emanating from the Hellmouth itself. Those who were sired, however, are infinitely more powerful and more adept at concealing themselves. I will anoint you with consecration. It will allow you to sight these more powerful and deceptive breeds. Until now, you have fought sanguinites, vampires of blood. When you arrive in Helton, you will encounter Nosonites, vampires of pain. There are still others, ancient and unnamed, for we dare not utter their names here, and others yet are unique, half-breeds, and yet massively more powerful from the fusion. So you're telling us that hybrids are more powerful than one breed alone? Cass questioned, an eyebrow raised. Yes, as Jake was once a Dompier, he is a testament to the fusion of human and vampire. Bran snickered but straightened up when Cassandra fixed him with an intense look. What? He said. What? He said testament. So? I just thought it was funny when an angel said the word testament. Cass gave him a level, frosty glare. Sheesh, haven't you ever read the Bible? This is no laughing matter. We all died the last time, remember? At least this time we can know what we're up against. Lighten up, alright? I was the one holding the holy hand grenade. Tears cleared his throat loudly. Bran and Cass's bickering tapered off. Good. Now, if you will follow me, the transdimensional warp gate will send you to Earth. Huh? Bran interjected with a deep, confused frown on his face. The what? The transdimensional warp gate is the portal that will transport you back to Earth from the cathedral. Oh, Bran said, smacking himself on the head. I hate dying. It makes me go all stupid. It would not be the first time, Locke said acidly, speaking for the first time. I just gotta get the cobwebs out, that's all. Brandon, Jake, Locke, and Cassandra stepped up to the warp gate. The Archangel withdrew a small crystal bottle of golden liquid from within his voluminous robes. He moved amongst the Slayers, rubbing the shimmering concoction under their eyes like the kind football players would wear. What about the others? Jake said suddenly. Jake asked suddenly. We'll be coming later, Alexis answered, giving her brother another hug. Bye, guys. As the others waved them off, the four original Slayers were swept off in swirling azure lights and vanished with a brilliant aquamarine flash. They arrived inside a dark warehouse. The light faded away soon after. They stumbled forward cautiously as their eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness after the luminous blue light. This some kind of sick joke? Jake growled as their eyes finally got used to the darkness around them. We died in a warehouse. Let's change that word to dimness. But 10 minutes later, they found their way out. Great, said Brandon with a sigh. Now we don't know where the hell to go. We got our weapons and all, but we're on unfamiliar turf, and I don't know how long it'll be before our skills are back up to speed. Coming back from the dead is like stepping out of a freezer. Everything's there, just not moving as fast as it should. Speaking of which, shouldn't we move as fast as we can? Jake said, for a gang of ravening, dangerous-looking vamps were charging at them down the dimly lit street. Damn, this place is even worse than back home, Brand managed to say before Locke grabbed him roughly by the collar and pulled him down the street. Jake took Cass by the arm, but somewhat gentler. A cackling group of vampires were coming up the street, having sighted them. We have to get out of here, Locke said, ducking around a wall and drawing his hand shotgun. Thanks, Captain Obvious. I think we could pick up on that, Brand said sarcastically. Cass put a hand over his mouth. He looked at her, but she put a finger to her lips. Jake pointed 2 fingers to his eyes and gestured to Locke. The rogue nodded in response. Jake pulled one of his submachine guns from his trench coat. Cass, stay here and make sure Brand doesn't run off or something. Hey! Brand started to protest, but Cass put her hand over his mouth again. Pretend to make out, Jake suggested. Both Cass and Brand raised their eyebrows at him. Are you serious? Just do it. Okay, but if we get sucked dry, it's all your fault. Don't worry about it, man. You two can take care of yourselves. Jake and Locke disappeared, and the other 2 shrugged. Wish we hadn't hit a rut, Brand said quietly, letting his arms fall to his sides. I know, Cass answered, resting her head on his shoulder. But it happens. They smiled and kissed softly. As their kiss deepened, the vamps finally arrived. Well, looks like we found a couple of lovebirds, boys. 5 of the vamps swarmed like locusts, eager to get at the Slayers. Just kill them and be done with it, said one, evidently the leader, as he was standing out of the fray. Jake and Locke broke onto the scene then, their guns blazing. As the vamps were distracted, Brand and Cass struck out with their swords. Caught by surprise, 3 of the vamps were dusted instantly. Damn, it feels good to have this again, Brand said brightly as the zealot's fury hummed through the air. The excitement of battle pulsed through his veins. Cass's katana, the Serenity, thrummed with a deadly hiss as she wounded another crow-like vamp. Now that the vamps knew what they were up against, they were harder to deal with. 2 each attacked Brand and Cass. That left 2 to fight Jake and Locke, while the leader hung back, merely watching. Excuse me. None of the Slayers could keep up with their vampire attackers. Brandon's sword handling deflected several punches, but a sharp kick to the gut lowered his guard. Goddamn reflux. He was cut across the face with his own sword and fell to his knees, bleeding. His arms were aching and throbbing. Beside him, Cassandra fell to the same kneeling position, a nasty cut in her leg and part of her shirt torn at the shoulder. Brand could see a trickle of red through it. He took an elbow to the side of the head and saw stars. The slavering vamps leapt for Cass. Although Brand reached out weakly, his hand was stomped on. Through the haze of pain, he could feel his fingers break. Locke and Jake were flattened and sent sprawling on their backs. What should we do with them, boss? Kill them, the leader said coldly. He threw off his hood to reveal coal-black hair, dark, pitiless eyes, and pale skin. An upside-down cross hung at his neck. He held this against the skin of Cass's arm as he rolled up her sleeve. She cried in pain as the unholy object burned her. The vampire brought her to her feet and pulled her neck closer to him. I will dine on the blood of a slayer, he said, a cruel smirk crossing his expressionless features. Cassandra could feel his rotten breath upon her neck as he pushed her shiny black hair aside. Lashing out with a hand, the vamp leader cast invisible cords which wrapped themselves around the other's limbs, binding them to the ground. The vampire leader extended his wicked fangs and chuckled evilly. The rasping sound of a semi-automatic rifle chattered out in the darkness and scattered the lesser vampires. Snarling, the vampire leader drew a serrated knife emblazoned with a gilded fang and etched a strange tattoo into Cassandra's arm and vanished. Let's see, before vanishing, yeah. And she fell forward with a whimper, tears coming to her eyes. The other vamps got up, growling. Before she fell to the pavement, Cass was caught by a pair of strong arms that wrapped around her waist. Throwing an arm around the shoulders of who had caught her, she drew a sharp breath as she looked through the hood which hid the figure's face. Jericho? The vamps then leapt forward in the attack. Leapt forward and the attack, whatever. A knife flew out of nowhere and caught a vamp in the back of the neck, taking it down. The man pulled the knife from the vamp's neck. It had a long blade that glistened in the sudden moonlight. Stabbing out 5 times, more vamps were killed instantly. Let's see. Has he stopped? More vamps were killed instantly. The man shifted his weight and pulled Cass down with him as the rifle sounded again, taking out the last of the vamps. With a steely look of concentration and a quiet word of magic, the man freed Jake, Locke, and Brandon. They felt their bonds disappear, and then they got up, massaging their wrists. Jericho inclined his head, watch, and 2 more figures stepped out of the shadows. Jake and Locke tensed up for a fight as Brandon stepped up to the man, Cassandra. God damn it. That's what I get for editing this at like fucking midnight. It's alright, the man rasped, his voice deep and gravelly. Jake and Locke relaxed. The man lowered his hood at last, and under it was indeed Jericho Lee, wearing a dark blue bandana under the hood of the long jacket. Cass kissed him on the cheek. Thanks, Jer, she whispered before limping over to Brandon. How have you been, Jer? Brandon said, extending a hand to him. Fine, considering the last couple of months, he answered, shaking Brandon's hand. Then he turned around and nodded to Locke. He spotted Jake and scowled. Jake raised his hands. Hey, man, I'm no vamp. Relax. Who are those guys? Brandon said, nodding at the 2 others. One was short and the other one taller and rather buffer. Chino Martinez, expert mechanic, Jer said, pointing to the shorter Latino, and Wesley Sapp Dunn, an ex-cage fighter. A black man nodded at them in greeting. Where'd you learn those new skills? Locke inquired. I'll explain later. For now, we should get out of here, Jer answered repressively. He inspected their wounds. They should get patched up. Some of these cuts are too complicated for me to deal with. He grimaced at the intricate knife wound on Cass's arm. She eyed him skeptically before speaking again. What? Basic first aid is one of your new tricks? In response, Jericho pulled a roll of bandages and a small bottle of disinfectant out of his jacket. He sprayed some on the wound and bandaged it gently. It's not much, but should work for now. Cass nodded. Your leg okay? Cass tested her leg. It shook, but it wasn't too painful. It's fine. Shoulder? She checked her wound. Just a scratch. Good. Let's go. Bran looked at him. What about me? Don't worry about it. You'll live. Jake. Don't worry about it. You'll live, Jake said, slapping him on the back. Chino pulled some car keys out of his pocket, and a black Escalade rolled out of a nearby alley. Wesley held up the sleek, gun-black rifle. It was curled at the end to rest smoothly against the user's arm. SA-17 Black Viper, the ex-cage fighter said proudly. Kicks ass and smooth as silk. It's a bullpup config. Jer chimed in. Now, let's go. The 7 of them piled into the waiting vehicle. Chino and Wesley got up front while Cass squeezed between Brandon and Jake in the middle row, and Jericho and Locke sat in the back. Nice car, thanks, but it's standard issue. About 15 minutes later, they approached a nondescript-looking building and pulled around to enter an underground parking lot. This is a reconverted research lab. We got a hold of it a couple of years ago and started expanding it. Well, Jericho explained as they all climbed out of the car. Home sweet home, Wesley said, slinging the rifle over his shoulder. Come on, Essay, let's get a beer. Chino grinned and walked towards a large, imposing door and pressed a button on the intercom, which Jericho stepped up to. Name? Agents Lee, Martinez, and Sap Dunn with some friends. Welcome back, Agent Lee. Commander Priest is expecting you. Ladies first, Chino said with a smile, bowing to Cass. As she passed, he casually swung an arm out. Don't even try it, buddy, Brandon said, throwing an arm out in a lunge. Hey, take it easy, okay? I was just gonna help the senorita out. As soon as everyone entered, a tall man with weathered features and a black cassock shirt, complete with a clerical collar and black slacks, approached him. Commander Priest, these are some friends of mine, Jer said as the man welcomed him. Jake, Brandon, and Cassandra, he continued. Commander Priest shook hands with Jake and Brandon. Both of them said, Nice to meet you, sir. And the commander kissed Cass's hand in a gentlemanly greeting. Locke kept his hood up, but the others could see a flicker of a grin under it. And this is... Hello, Jeremiah, Locke answered, lowering his hood. The two men embraced like brothers. Locke, it's been too long, my old friend. Yes, it has. Wait a sec, Brandon chimed in as the other three looked puzzled. You two know each other? Of course. Jeremiah was the wise master I met in Asia. He trained me to fight vampires. Yes, I taught him all he knew after he left home. After his family was slaughtered, after the training was complete, we returned to San Francisco. He embarked on his cross-country journey, and I disappeared again. Wicked, Brandon said, but how did Jer get into all this? I will explain later. For now, you must be tired. Rest. Get something to eat. Have your injuries attended to. Chino and Wesley will show you to your rooms. Jericho, Locke, I would speak with you. Wait, Jake said. You knew we were coming? I had a feeling, the commander said, with a mysterious smile on his face. Now I believe some friends of yours are waiting for you. It is rude to keep them. This way, y'all, Wesley said, leading them in one direction. Commander Priest waved Jericho and Locke to his office in the other direction. That's the end of the chapter. So, yeah. I'm gonna post the rest on Wattpad, so hopefully that's something I can actually get going. That was way longer than I thought it would be. So, yeah. Hope I did well. See you guys next time.